Hello everyone, and welcome. Today we are going to explore one of the most recognizable and collectible stamps ever issued by the United States Postal Service, the classic 5-cent George Washington postage stamp. At first glance, this small blue stamp may appear ordinary, but collectors around the world know that certain versions of this stamp can be worth much more than their original face value. Some examples are only worth a few cents, while others, depending on their printing variety, condition, centering, gum, and rarity, have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. In this video, we will discover the history of this iconic stamp, learn how to identify valuable varieties, understand what makes one copy more valuable than another, and explore its estimated market value in today's collector market in US dollars. The George Washington stamp has always been an important part of American postal history. As the first president of the United States and one of the nation's founding fathers, George Washington has appeared on many U.S. stamps throughout history. His portrait has become one of the most familiar images in American philately. The 5-cent blue stamp was created for everyday postal use, allowing millions of Americans to send letters and packages across the country. Because so many were printed over several years, it became one of the most common stamps in circulation. However, despite the enormous printing numbers, collectors continue searching for rare varieties and well-preserved examples. One of the first things every collector should understand is that not every 5-cent George Washington stamp is identical. There are many different printings issued during different years. Some were printed using flat plate presses, while others were produced on rotary presses. Some have watermarks while later issues do not. There are also differences in perforation sizes. These small details may seem unimportant, but they can completely change the market value of the stamp. When identifying your stamp, examine the portrait carefully. The engraving should appear sharp with fine lines throughout Washington's face, hair, and clothing. Counterfeit or damaged copies often have blurred or worn engraving. Collectors also inspect the margins surrounding the design. A stamp with perfectly balanced white borders on all four sides is considered well-centered and usually commands a much higher value than one with uneven margins. The condition of the stamp is perhaps the single most important factor influencing value. A stamp that has never been used, retains its original gum on the back, has bright color, clean perforations, and no creases or tears will almost always be worth more than a used example. Mint never hinged copies are especially desirable because they have never been attached to an album with stamp hinges. These pristine examples are becoming increasingly difficult to find. Used copies tell their own story. A neatly cancelled stamp with a light circular postmark is often more desirable than one with a heavy black cancellation covering Washington's face. Collectors appreciate cancellations that leave most of the design visible. If the cancellation includes a readable date or an interesting historical location, the stamp may become even more attractive to specialists. Now let us talk about today's market values. A common used 5-cent George Washington stamp in average condition usually sells for approximately 50 cents to $5. These are the stamps most collectors encounter in old family albums, inherited collections, and estate sales. While these values may seem modest, they represent the beginning of stamp collecting and provide an affordable entry point for beginners. A well-preserved mint example with original gum can typically sell between $10 and $50 depending on the exact catalog variety, centering, freshness, and overall eye appeal. Collectors often pay a premium for stamps that appear almost perfect under magnification. Exceptionally well-centered mint examples graded by professional certification companies can reach values between $100 and $500. Professional grading has become increasingly important because collectors appreciate independently verified condition and authenticity. High numerical grades are relatively rare because most stamps printed for everyday postal use experienced handling before reaching collectors. Some scarcer varieties of the George Washington 5-cent stamp can command values between $1,000 and several $1,000s. These valuable examples may feature unusual perforations, different printing methods, watermark varieties, rare paper types, or production errors. Because these characteristics are often difficult to identify, serious collectors frequently consult specialized catalogs or professional experts before buying or selling valuable specimens. Printing errors have always fascinated collectors. During the production process, mistakes occasionally occurred. A missing color, inverted printing, dramatic shift in the design, double impression, or unusual perforation error can transform an ordinary stamp into an extraordinary rarity. Such errors are highly sought after because they represent unusual moments in the printing process that escaped quality control. Collectors should also examine the perforations carefully. Missing perforations, misaligned perforations, or imperforate examples can significantly increase value. Even a slight difference in perforation measurement may identify an entirely different catalog number worth substantially more than a common issue. Paper quality is another important factor. Over the years, the United States used different papers and watermarks. Some early issues include watermarks that can only be seen using special watermark fluid or modern detection equipment. A seemingly ordinary stamp may turn out to be a scarce watermark variety worth many times more than expected. Many people wonder whether every old stamp is valuable simply because of its age. The answer is no. Age alone does not determine value. Rarity, condition, demand, authenticity, and collector interest all play much larger roles. A stamp printed in enormous quantities may remain inexpensive even after many decades, while a rare variety from the same period can be extremely valuable. Authentication is especially important when dealing with expensive stamps. High-value examples are often submitted to professional expertising services that examine the paper, ink, perforations, gum, and printing characteristics. A certificate of authenticity gives buyers greater confidence and often increases the selling price. Storage also plays a major role in preserving value. Collectors should always handle stamps with stamp tongs instead of fingers. Natural skin oils can damage paper over time. Stamps should be stored in acid-free albums or stock books away from sunlight, excessive humidity, dust, and temperature fluctuations. Proper storage helps maintain color, gum, and overall condition for future generations. The internet has transformed the stamp market. Collectors now buy and sell stamps through online auctions, specialized dealers, philatelic societies, and international marketplaces. This global access has increased demand for premium quality examples while making it easier for collectors to compare prices before making purchases. If you recently inherited an old stamp collection containing George Washington stamps, do not assume they are all common. Carefully inspect each stamp for differences in perforations, watermarks, color shades, paper type, and condition. Even collections that appear ordinary sometimes contain overlooked varieties worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. Many beginning collectors ask whether they should clean old stamps. The answer is generally no. Cleaning, trimming, repairing, or altering a stamp almost always reduces its value. Serious collectors prefer original condition, even if minor imperfections are present. Any attempt to improve appearance can permanently damage the stamp and make it less desirable. Another interesting aspect of this stamp is its lasting popularity. George Washington remains one of the most collected figures in American philately. His portrait has appeared on numerous definitive issues over many decades, allowing collectors to build specialized collections focused entirely on Washington stamps. These collections often include different printings, shades, papers, watermarks, plate varieties, and postal history covers. The future market for classic United States stamps remains promising. While common examples are likely to remain affordable, premium quality certified specimens and rare varieties continue attracting strong interest from experienced collectors and investors. As high-grade examples become increasingly difficult to locate, exceptional pieces may continue appreciating over time. If you own this blue 5-cent George Washington stamp, take a close look before placing it back into your album. What appears to be an ordinary postage stamp could have hidden characteristics that make it far more valuable than expected. Compare it with specialized stamp catalogs, measure the perforations carefully, inspect the watermark if applicable, and consider professional evaluation if you believe your stamp has unusual features. The current market generally places common used examples between 0.50 and 5, attractive mint examples between 10 and 50, premium certified copies between 100 and 500, and rare varieties or exceptional examples from $1,000 to several $1,000s, depending on the exact issue, condition, rarity, certification, and collector demand. Every stamp should be evaluated individually because even small differences can dramatically affect its value. Next up, the classic 5-cent Benjamin Franklin stamp. This small black stamp has fascinated collectors for generations and remains one of the most recognizable designs in American philately. While many examples are affordable collector pieces, certain rare varieties and well-preserved copies have sold for hundreds, thousands, and even tens of thousands of dollars. In this video, we will uncover the fascinating history of this stamp, learn how to identify valuable varieties, understand what determines its market value, and discover how much these remarkable stamps can be worth in today's collector market in US dollars. Benjamin Franklin is one of the most respected figures in American history. He was a scientist, inventor, writer, diplomat, and one of the founding fathers of the United States. Long before becoming one of the country's greatest statesmen, Franklin served as the first Postmaster General, making him the perfect choice to appear on America's earliest postage stamps. His contributions to the postal system helped shape mail delivery throughout the young nation, and his portrait became a symbol of trust and communication. The famous 5-cent Benjamin Franklin stamp was first introduced during the 19th century when the United States Postal Service was expanding rapidly. Letters were the primary method of communication, and stamps played a vital role in connecting families, businesses, and government offices across the country. Millions of these stamps were printed, but not every printing was identical. Different printings, papers, shades, and production methods created numerous collectible varieties that are highly sought after today. At first glance, many people assume every old Benjamin Franklin stamp is valuable simply because it is old. However, age alone does not determine value. The true worth depends on rarity, condition, printing variety, demand among collectors, and whether the stamp has been professionally authenticated. Two stamps that appear almost identical may have dramatically different market values because of small details that only experienced collectors notice. One of the first things collectors examine is the printing quality. The portrait of Benjamin Franklin should display sharp engraving with fine lines throughout the hair, face, and background. Strong detail usually indicates a well-preserved stamp. Worn impressions, faded ink, or damaged paper often reduce value significantly. The margins surrounding the stamp are another important factor. Early United States stamps were produced before perforations became standard. Collectors carefully inspect the amount of white space surrounding the design. A stamp with large, evenly balanced margins on all four sides is considered much more desirable than one whose design has been cut into by the scissors used during separation. Wide margins can increase value dramatically. Condition plays perhaps the greatest role in determining market price. A stamp free from tears, thin spots, stains, repairs, heavy creases, or fading will always attract stronger interest from collectors. Even tiny imperfections can reduce the selling price of rare stamps by a substantial amount. Unused examples of this stamp are considerably scarcer than used copies because most were placed on letters and cancelled during normal postal service. An unused stamp with original gum, if applicable to its issue, can command a significant premium. However, even used examples may be valuable if they are exceptionally well preserved or belong to a rare printing. Collectors also pay close attention to cancellation marks. A light and neatly struck postmark that leaves Franklin's portrait clearly visible is generally preferred over heavy cancellations covering the entire design. Some historical cancellations from important cities or significant dates can add interest and value. Now let us discuss the current market value of the 5-cent Benjamin Franklin stamp. Common used examples in average condition generally sell between $20 and $100 depending on the exact issue and overall quality. These are the types most often found in inherited stamp albums and beginner collections. Better quality used examples with attractive margins, strong impressions, and light cancellations often sell between $100 and $500. Collectors are willing to pay more for stamps with excellent eye appeal and minimal faults. Unused examples in very fine condition may bring anywhere from $500 to $2,500, especially if they retain their original appearance and have been properly preserved for many decades. Certified high-grade specimens can easily reach $3,000 to $10,000 depending on rarity, demand, and professional grading. These premium examples are highly sought after by advanced collectors who compete for the finest known copies. Certain rare printings, exceptional plate varieties, unusual shades, or famous postal history examples have sold for $25,000, $50,000, or even well over $100,000 at major philatelic auctions. The rarest examples of early United States Franklin stamps are considered treasures of American philately and are owned by museums and elite collectors around the world. Printing varieties are another exciting aspect of collecting these stamps. Differences in paper type, engraving plates, ink shades, and production methods may create entirely separate catalog listings. Some varieties are extremely scarce because only a limited number survived in collectible condition. Collectors should also inspect the paper carefully. Early paper often shows signs of aging, but original paper texture is important for authentication. Repairs, chemical cleaning, or restoration attempts usually decrease value because collectors prefer stamps in original condition. Professional authentication is highly recommended for any Benjamin Franklin stamp that appears valuable. Expertising organizations examine the engraving, paper, ink, margins, and condition to determine authenticity. A genuine certificate gives buyers confidence and often increases the market price considerably. Storage is equally important. Valuable stamps should always be handled with stamp tongs rather than fingers to prevent oils from damaging the paper. They should be stored in acid-free albums or archival quality holders away from sunlight, moisture, dust, and extreme temperatures. Proper preservation ensures that future generations can enjoy these historical treasures. The popularity of Benjamin Franklin among collectors continues to grow because his image appears on many classic United States issues. Specialized collectors often build complete Franklin collections covering different denominations, printing methods, papers, and postal history. These collections represent decades of dedication and historical research. Modern online auctions have made it easier than ever to buy and sell rare Franklin stamps. Collectors from around the world compete for exceptional examples, particularly those with outstanding margins, strong color, and expert certification. This international demand helps maintain strong prices for premium quality specimens. If you have inherited an old family stamp collection, carefully examine every Benjamin Franklin stamp before assuming it has little value. Compare the design with specialized stamp catalogs, measure the margins, inspect the printing quality, and consider professional evaluation if the stamp appears unusual or exceptionally well preserved. Some valuable varieties remain undiscovered in old albums and family collections. Remember that cleaning, trimming, repairing, or attempting to improve an old stamp almost always reduces its value. Serious collectors prefer stamps in original condition, even when small imperfections are present. Originality is one of the most important qualities in the world of philately. The future outlook for classic United States stamps remains positive. While common examples remain affordable for beginners, rare Franklin issues continue attracting advanced collectors and investors worldwide. As more premium examples enter museum collections and long-term private holdings, the supply available on the open market becomes increasingly limited, supporting strong demand. In today's market, common used examples generally range from 20 to 100, attractive collector-quality copies often sell for 100 to 500, premium and used examples may bring 500 to 2,500, certified high-grade specimens frequently achieve 3,000 to 10,000. And the rarest varieties or exceptional auction pieces can exceed 25,000 to more than 100,000, depending on rarity, condition, authenticity, and collector demand. Thank you for watching this detailed look at the remarkable 5-cent Benjamin Franklin United States postage stamp. More than just a small piece of paper, this stamp represents an important chapter in American history and the evolution of the postal system. Whether your stamp is worth a few dollars or an extraordinary six-figure sum, every Benjamin Franklin stamp tells a story of communication, craftsmanship, and history that continues to inspire collectors around the world. Next up, the famous 5-cent orange-brown Benjamin Franklin postage stamp. This remarkable stamp is admired by collectors around the world for its elegant engraved design, fascinating history, and the possibility that certain examples can be worth thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars. At first glance, it may appear to be just another old stamp, but experts know that its true value depends on a combination of rarity, condition, margins, printing variety, and authenticity. In this video, we will explore the complete history of this classic stamp, learn what makes some copies incredibly valuable, discover how collectors identify rare varieties, and examine its estimated market value in today's collector market in US dollars. The story of this beautiful stamp begins during the early years of American postage. Benjamin Franklin was one of the founding fathers of the United States and served as the nation's first postmaster general. His contributions to the development of the American postal system were so significant that he became one of the first historical figures chosen to appear on United States postage stamps. The 5-cent denomination was widely used for mailing letters and important correspondence during the 19th century, making this stamp an essential part of everyday communication across the growing nation. Unlike modern stamps, these early issues were produced using engraved steel printing plates. Highly skilled craftsmen carefully engraved every fine detail of Benjamin Franklin's portrait onto metal plates before printing began. This engraving process created the sharp lines and remarkable depth that collectors continue to admire more than a century later. Even today, the artistic quality of these early engraved stamps is considered among the finest examples of stamp production in the world. Millions of letters once carried this stamp across the United States, but despite the large original printing, very few examples have survived in exceptional condition. Most were used, cancelled, exposed to moisture, damaged during removal from envelopes, or simply discarded after delivery. Because of this, collectors place a substantial premium on examples that remain well preserved. One of the first characteristics collectors examine is the color. This issue is famous for its attractive orange-brown appearance. However, not every stamp has exactly the same shade. Different printings and ink mixtures created slight variations ranging from pale orange-brown to rich reddish-brown. Some of these color varieties are significantly scarcer than others and may command much higher prices in the collector market. Another critical factor is the quality of the engraving. Under magnification, Benjamin Franklin's portrait should display extremely fine engraved lines throughout the hair, forehead, cheeks, and clothing. Sharp, well-defined impressions usually indicate a stronger collectible example, while weak impressions or worn plates may reduce value. Perhaps the most important feature on these early imperfect stamps is the size of the margins. Unlike modern perforated stamps, collectors or postal clerks separated these stamps using scissors. As a result, many examples were cut very close to the printed design. Collectors highly value stamps with 4 large, even margins surrounding the portrait. A stamp showing complete margins on all 4 sides is generally worth much more than one where the design has been trimmed into. Condition plays an enormous role in determining today's market value. Collectors carefully inspect every stamp for tears, thin spots, folds, stains, repairs, fading, creases, or missing paper. Even a tiny fault can significantly reduce the value of a rare 19th-century stamp. On the other hand, a fresh example with vibrant color, crisp paper, and outstanding eye appeal may sell for many times more than an average copy. The cancellation also affects desirability. Used examples with light, clean cancellations that leave Franklin's portrait clearly visible are usually preferred over heavily cancelled copies. Certain historical postmarks from famous cities or early postal routes may add additional interest for postal history collectors. Now let us discuss today's market values. Common used examples of the 5-cent orange-brown Benjamin Franklin stamp in average collectible condition generally sell between $50 and $250 depending on margins, color, and overall preservation. Examples with attractive foremargin cuts, stronger impressions, and lighter cancellations frequently sell between $250 and $1,000. These pieces are highly desirable because they combine historical significance with excellent visual appeal. Very fine examples that have been professionally authenticated and graded can achieve prices ranging from $1,000 to $5,000. Collectors appreciate certified stamps because independent experts verify their authenticity and condition. Exceptional premium quality specimens featuring unusually large margins, rich original color, and outstanding preservation may sell for $5,000 to $20,000 at major philatelic auctions. Competition among advanced collectors often pushes prices even higher for superior examples. The rarest varieties, including famous plate positions, unusual shades, significant printing errors, or historically important postal history covers bearing this stamp, have realized $25,000, $50,000, and in exceptional cases well over $100,000 depending on rarity, provenance, and collector demand. One fascinating aspect of collecting these stamps is studying the various printing characteristics. Specialists compare tiny design details to determine which printing plate produced a particular stamp. Plate flaws, recut lines, transferred images, and other production characteristics help identify scarce varieties that may not be obvious to beginning collectors. Authentication has become increasingly important because valuable early United States stamps have occasionally been altered or forged. Professional philatelic expertising organizations examine the paper, engraving, ink, margins, and overall construction using specialized equipment before issuing certificates of authenticity. A certified stamp generally commands greater buyer confidence and often sells for a higher price. Storage is another important consideration. Valuable stamps should always be handled with stamp tongs to prevent fingerprints and damage. They should be stored in archival quality albums or protective mounts away from direct sunlight, humidity, dust, and temperature fluctuations. Proper storage helps preserve both appearance and long-term market value. Many collectors inherit old family stamp albums and overlook stamps like this because they appear worn or ordinary. However, even heavily used examples can possess important characteristics that make them valuable. Careful examination using a magnifying glass, comparison with specialized stamp catalogs, and professional evaluation can sometimes reveal hidden treasures. One common mistake made by inexperienced owners is attempting to clean or repair old stamps. Washing, bleaching, trimming margins, or repairing tiers almost always reduces collector value. Original condition remains one of the most important qualities in philately, and experienced buyers strongly prefer untouched examples. Benjamin Franklin remains one of the most popular subjects in United States stamp collecting. His image has appeared on dozens of American postage stamps over many decades, allowing collectors to build specialized collections focused entirely on Franklin issues. These collections often include different colors, denominations, papers, printing methods, postal history, and rare varieties spanning more than a century of American postal history. Interest in classic United States stamps continues to remain strong throughout the world. Major auctions regularly feature early Franklin issues, and collectors from many countries compete for exceptional examples. High-quality certified stamps continue attracting serious buyers because the number of surviving premium examples becomes smaller each year. If you own a 5-cent orange-brown Benjamin Franklin stamp, examine it carefully before deciding its value. Study the margins, color, engraving quality, paper, cancellation, and overall condition. Compare it with specialized philatelic catalogs and consider obtaining professional certification if your stamp appears to possess unusual characteristics. Even small differences between similar-looking stamps can result in dramatic differences in market value. In today's collector market, common examples generally sell for $50 to $250, attractive collector-quality copies often range from $250 to $1,000, certified premium examples usually bring $1,000 to $5,000, exceptional specimens can sell for $5,000 to $20,000, while the rarest varieties and extraordinary auction examples may exceed $25,000 to more than $100,000, depending on rarity, condition, certification, historical significance, and collector demand. Thank you for watching this detailed exploration of the remarkable 5-cent orange-brown Benjamin Franklin United States postage stamp. More than simply a piece of paper, this classic stamp represents an important chapter in American history, the evolution of the postal system, and the extraordinary craftsmanship of early stamp engraving. Whether your example is worth a few dollars or an extraordinary six-figure amount, every surviving stamp preserves a unique story from the earliest days of communication in the United States and continues to inspire collectors across the world.